Hey all, here at OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the Yuetyi. This is a smart translator / mobile conference device. The conference part is via a built-in app, which you can also download on another device, including iOS or Android smartphones, and you can connect multiple people to the same meeting, and this device will basically record all of those notes and give you a translated transcription text based on whatever language you're selecting. And those notes can then be exported and saved. You can also play back audio recordings. So it's this all-in-one smart translator that, like other AI translators we've seen in the past, can also be used for speech translation just by holding a microphone key there on the side, has a built-in speaker and microphone, and also even has a built-in camera on this model that allows it to scan in documents and books, and you can also translate sentences, whatever the camera here is seeing. So pretty fully functional as far as translators go. The screen here measures over 4 inches diagonally, which is still small compared to modern day Android smartphones, but it's also going to be not too far off because it has kind of large bezels that occupies the speaker and microphone, so the overall feeling as you're holding it is really similar to a smartphone. Definitely a larger display, like I said, than many of the other dedicated translation devices that we've seen in the past. Wi-Fi Hotspot as well, so you can pop in a SIM card or you can purchase their built-in data plan, and it can also allow other devices to connect to it and be linked to the internet. Alternatively, you can also connect to Wi-Fi if you don't want to use cellular networks. So as the box here implies, it does support up to 72 languages, and again, it is using AI translation engines via the cloud, so that's connected to services including Baidu, including Google Translate as servers behind the scenes. It is, again, technically running on a version of Android. It has 1 gig of RAM, quad-core processor, but those specs are not really important considering at the end of the day you're just using it for the very simplified purposes of translation. The battery at 4,500 milliamp hours is pretty large, and some extras in the box include a lanyard strap, as well as a USB Type-C charging and data sync cable, along with just a quick user guide. Taking a closer look at the design and the hardware, overall it looks clean and professional. Again, aside from this screen, we just have a speaker and the microphone on the bottom. The entire body here is coated in a soft-touch rubber material, which makes it feel pretty grippy and comfortable in the hand. Then on the right-hand spine, there is one push-to-talk key for translations and a volume rocker. So I do think if you are primarily using this as a two-way translator, it would be probably nice to also have a second microphone key for the other person, maybe on the other side or on the front of the device. So that's one area where maybe they can improve in a next-gen model. But the key itself is pretty large and easy to click on, and otherwise the top here, which is a little bit tapered off, includes the lanyard strap and also the attachment here for 3.5 millimeters headphones, as well as USB Type-C for charging. Now this does have built-in Bluetooth as well, so you can also connect to wireless headphones if you don't want to listen back to the translations out loud using the speaker. Like I said, the user interface, like other smart AI translators, is definitely locked down compared to regular Android. We have only access to these core features to make the unit still run pretty fast and optimized even on entry-level hardware. The viewing angles are decent and brightness is not too bad. This is actually the maximum that we are at, so this is as bright as it gets. If you are in direct sunlight, it may still glare a little bit. It's not seeming to be a fully laminated display underneath the tempered glass here, but overall the screen feels pretty responsive to click on, and indoors where you might be having those conferences and meetings, you won't really have any issues here. Now as far as network settings here are concerned, and learn about the top-up services, which are aforementioned if you want to use the built-in eSIM, which will function depending on what region of the world you're in, so you don't have to necessarily pick up a SIM card if you're traveling to a different country for the first time. What I don't necessarily love though is some of the settings here are set to Chinese by default, so I do think that especially as they are planning to release this internationally, they should just translate everything to English or the language that the user has set the operating system to. So there's still a little bit work to be done here, but overall you can see here it says 1 gig. Their built-in plan for the US seems to be priced at around $4.62 for 90 days. That's really not bad, I would say. You can also choose, again, built-in SIM card, your own device, as well as scan for other networks around you. And this does give away that it is running on Android underneath the hood, probably something like Android 6.0 or something around that. And even though, again, the screen isn't as large as a typical smartphone, it's not too bad. There is haptic vibration, by the way, so whenever you're clicking on something, it vibrates, gives you a nice sensation sensation. And again, the responsiveness of the keyboard is not really an issue either. You don't have to really use this too often because it's primarily using voice. Now, hopping into the features one by one, and the first one here is Access Conference, and this is basically using this as a recorder for all the calls and conferences that you can be doing via other devices, and you just need to connect to this via Bluetooth. Essentially, it will act then as the speakerphone for intercepting your voice that others can hear, and also it will play back what others are replying back, and it will record all of that and transcribe it in real time into your own language. So you can set it up to one other language that the second person on the other end is talking to you in. So in total, there can be 2 languages you can set in this conference mode. That is one limitation though, is I think in some global conferences, like I said, you may have people speaking in more than 2 languages. You can also choose and edit those languages in real time. So again, if there are, let's say a third person using another language, you can technically swap that on the go and just quickly find that language and then save it, and it will keep on translating that just fine, but you have to do a little bit of manual adjustment. Some sessions that you can take a look at as an example. So right now there's a few meetings, for example, that have been just captured, and you would be able to see kind of the overall session, including 2 people talking back and forth, and play back the overall recording as well. The voice translation feature is really the most simple out of the bunch. This traditional mode though is still helpful if you're trying to talk to strangers when you're traveling. Well, we're not doing a ton of that these days, but if you want to ask for directions, things like that, it's still offering this conventional function. So let's say, hello, where am I located? And you can see that the translation speed is surprisingly fast. I have to say that the accuracy of the translations in terms of picking up your voice and just the processing speed is one of the fastest I've seen out of the smart translators we've reviewed so far. Like I said, that is a little surprising because I don't necessarily see that the specs on here are a huge bump up, but obviously the software is just very well optimized, and it's almost instantaneous, less than a split second, so as fast and real time as things can get. I can also respond back in Chinese. Let's just say, hello, ni hao.
Hello.
And you can see it just reads it back out loud. So very fast and surprisingly good. We can try a more complex sentence. Now here's a test of a more complex sentence. It will pick up all the different punctuation marks. Let's see.
更复杂句子的准确性测试，它将拾取所有不同的标点符号，让我们来看看。
So again, it may be missing one word or two, but still was really fast there to pick up that entire sentence and process it. So kudos. The optimization here of the translation is done very, very well, and I'm glad to see that. It's giving a good comprehension of what's going on. I would say it's close to 90 to 92% accuracy, which is similar to other smart translation devices on the market. But overall, it's just the speed of the translation being really fast that is, I think, the impressive part here. So we can try another language here. Let's go over to Spanish and take a look. So I'm going to just slide down here and just tap here, and we can try Hola.
Hello.
And that also works just fine. We can also do vice versa. Now it will translate back in Spanish. How does it perform?
Ahora se traducirá al español. ¿Cómo funciona?
Now the next function over, presentation mode. On this, it's not quite universal, but the ecosystem has to be connected via the companion app that is dedicated on here. When they're going through their PowerPoint or whatnot, as they are talking, you will be able to translate what they're saying in real time and record those notes for further reviewing. The group chat function is basically translation that is completed via a kind of WhatsApp, Messenger, or WeChat-like interface where you can share this group with other folks using their phones, and they're able to just talk back to you in their own language, and then on your side, you'll be able to see everything translated to English. It's all using voice once again. Hello world. There we go, and you can see that it's read that back out. You can change the password, and other people can join just by finding that group. The camera translation, like I said, is pretty simple. Like most smart translators, though, it's not able to actually save the images that you take just because the 8 gigs of built-in memory is not user expandable. So everything can only be captured once. You can translate it, and then if you capture a new image, what is going to be saved from before will be overwritten. Other controls include toggling on or off the flash. The torch can be always turned on if you are in a darker environment, or in the auto mode, we're just going to turn it off for now. The language that you want to translate it to, and then that's pretty much it. So overall, it is an autofocus lens. You can tap to focus and then just capture the shot. Pretty fast to take the image. It's not too problematic in terms of the quality that I'm looking at. Tap on confirm, and that will then begin to translate. So this is kind of similar to kind of photo translate from Google. So it's not really necessarily anything we haven't seen before, but it does work relatively well. And you can also zoom in using multi-touch, works just fine, and see what the translated results are like. This is going to be a little tough because right now this is a poem, and anything which is a little bit too loose in terms of syntax, it may not get the best translation result. Let's try translating this other text here, which is in Chinese, and see how it fares. So once again, it is pretty fast in terms of the recognition speed at the very least, and we have it translated. The result here is going to be a little bit better. It tends to kind of make the text above a little more truncated so you can read it. After the end of its service life, the product shall now be discarded as ordinary domestic waste, but must be put into the electrical and electronic equipment recycling center. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on look at this Yuetyi Smart Conference Translator device. Really the function here that we haven't seen before would be the fact that it's able to kind of capture things by connecting via Bluetooth and record all of those sessions as notes and translations, which is pretty clever. So that capability does extend on the functionality, especially as you are teleconferencing. However, I would still like to see the functionality maybe slightly expanded in the future via software updates. Things like a dictionary, for example, or even text translation could be also nice to have, an offline mode, and the ability to preserve some of the photo translations are all details that I would like to see. However, the overall translation accuracy and speed I think are both more than acceptable. For what it is as a smart translator conference device, I do think it is pretty well performing. For now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.